Welcome back, viewers. You're watching Beyond World is One. I'm Shivan Channa. This is Speed News. Let's begin. A series of massive blasts rocked Beirut's southern suburbs in the last 24 hours, shaking buildings kilometers away in the capital. Israeli fighter jets pounded the densely populated neighborhood of Dahiyeh in what has been described as the most violent attack by Israel so far on Beirut. According to reports, more than 10 consecutive airstrikes were recorded in the area. The strikes came amid an ongoing escalation in the year-long conflict between Israel and Hezbollah. Huge explosions shook the sky in the vicinity of Beirut's main airport in the early hours of Friday, shortly after a civilian flight was seen making its final approach and landing on the runway. According to data from Flight Radar 24, the inbound flight was identified as Middle East Airlines ME429 from Dubai. Israel's defense forces say that the Iron Dome intercepted some 20 rockets that were fired by Hezbollah towards Haifa Bay and Galilee. Rocket sirens could be heard near border with Lebanon in northern Israel as the rocket attack was averted. According to the Israeli police, no casualties were reported as the rocket shrapnel fell in Haifa suburb. United Nations Security Council has extended its full support to Secretary General Antonio Guterres after Israel barred him from entering the country for not quickly condemning Iran's ballistic missile barrage. Without naming Israel, the Council's 5 permanent members, Britain, China, France, Russia and the United States, and the 10 non-permanent members underscored the need for all member states to have a productive and effective relationship with the Secretary General. The Council said that any decision not to engage with the UN Secretary General or the United Nations is counterproductive, especially in the context of escalating tensions in West Asia. Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei is set to lead Friday prayers and deliver a public sermon that could shed light on the country's plans after a massive missile attack on Israel. Khamenei's rare sermon, a first in almost 5 years, comes 3 days after the 1-year anniversary of the Israel-Hamas war in Gaza, triggered by the Iran-backed Palestinian group's October 7th attack. US President Joe Biden says he does not believe there is going to be an all-out war in West Asia. Responding to reporters at the White House, he said it can be avoided. As Israel bombarded Hezbollah strongholds in Lebanon and waged retaliation for an Iranian missile attack, he said for this to be achieved, a lot needs to be done yet. Democratic vice presidential candidate Tim Walz promised Muslim Americans an equal role in their administration should they win the election. He said that he will continue to condemn in all forms anti-Islam, anti-Arab sentiments being led by Donald Trump. Walz's move to reach out to Muslim Americans come as Democrats scramble to win back the voters' support that has been eroded over Biden's staunch backing of Israel during its year-old war in Gaza against Hamas. Bolivia's former president Evo Morales who has locked horns with Bolivia's current leader, is under investigation for allegedly raping a minor girl when he was in power, said the country's justice minister. He said that the teen had given birth to a baby girl after the incident, which took place 8 years ago. Mexico's Supreme Court has agreed to consider a legal challenge against controversial judicial reforms that were signed into law to allow appointment of judges by popular vote. The Supreme Court said in a statement that the decision reflected its obligation to ensure the autonomy and independence of the judicial branch of the Federation and its members. North Korea held a traditional ceremony to mark the founding of ancient Korea. Officials were seen paying their respects at a memorial service for Tangun, believed to be the ancestral father of the nation. South Korea also commemorates the day, with some scholars insisting that Tangun or Dangon in South Korea is not a mythical character but a historical figure who actually ruled a prehistoric kingdom in Korea in 2333 BC. According to Korean legend, Dangon was the son of a god who wanted to be a man and a bear who wanted to be a woman. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has said his country would not hesitate to use all available offensive forces, including nuclear weapons, if the enemy attempted to use force to encroach on its sovereignty. He criticized South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol for threatening to end the North Korean regime on Tuesday, saying the comment showed which side was destroying regional security and peace. According to state news media outlet, Kim's comments were made at a training base of Army Special Operation Units. Pakistan's Interior Minister warned supporters of former Prime Minister Imran Khan against holding rallies at D Chowk in Islamabad. He said Rangers and Army have been called out to prevent protesters from reaching the capital. Naqvi also questioned the motive behind scheduling the protest during the visit by Malaysian Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim. He said that Pakistan's image could suffer internationally if any untoward incident occurred, reiterating that no protest could be allowed at the cost of the country's reputation. Southern Taiwan is working to clear up damage from flooding and high winds caused by typhoon Krathon, which has now been downgraded to a tropical depression. Typhoon Krathon slammed into southwestern Taiwan on Thursday, hitting the region with record-breaking winds. Now, in the aftermath, while most parts of Taiwan have resumed work and financial markets have reopened, the southwestern port city of Kaohsiung and neighboring Pingtung County have declared another day off work to remove downed trees and pump out floodwater. US has seized 41 internet domains used by Russian intelligence agents and their affiliates to hack US government agencies, including the Pentagon and State Department. The Justice Department has announced that this action coincided with a separate effort by Microsoft, which shut down 66 domains linked to the same hackers. These domains were controlled by hackers associated with Russia's Federal Security Service. According to officials, the Russian government used fake email accounts to steal sensitive American information. Their targets included US companies, former US intelligence employees, and current and former staff at the Department of Defense, State Department, and Department of Energy. Tanzania has suspended the digital platforms of a local media company called Mwananchi Communications Limited for the next 30 days. Now, the country's Communications Regulatory Authority has accused the media company of publishing restricted content and damaging the country's image. The regulatory authority did not specify what the restricted content was. However, reports suggest a post showing people complaining about missing or murdered relatives and friends is the reason behind the suspension. Tech entrepreneur Elon Musk has become the first person to have 200 million followers on X. The X owner is currently followed by former US President Barack Obama and Portuguese footballer Cristiano Ronaldo in terms of the number of followers. While Obama has over 131 million followers, Ronaldo is third in the list with over 113 million followers. Musk acquired X, which was formerly known as Twitter, in October 2022 for a whopping $44 billion. As per reports, the social media platform has 600 million monthly active users and around 300 million daily active users. According to a report by ISACA, a global professional association, 63% or more than 3 in 5 cybersecurity professionals in India say their role is more stressful now than it was 5 years ago. Increasingly complex threat landscape, insufficiently trained staff, worsening hiring and retention challenges, lack of prioritization of cybersecurity risks, and low budget. These are the top 5 reasons for increased stress among Indian cybersecurity professionals. The report also highlights an urgent need for increased cybersecurity budget and better trained professionals. Oil prices continue to climb following its biggest one-day jump in almost a year. This comes amid concerns that Israel may decide to strike Iranian crude facilities in retaliation for a missile barrage earlier this week from Iran towards Israel. Brent traded below $78 a barrel after surging by 5% on Thursday. This as President Joe Biden said that the US was discussing whether to support potential Israeli attacks on Iranian energy infrastructure. Crude has soared by almost 8% this week, the most since early last year. West Asia accounts for about a third of the world's crude supply. An Australian judge rejected an attempt by social media platform X to wipe the fine levied by a watchdog. This comes as a notable victory in the country's battle with global internet companies. The court threw out X's petition and ordered Elon Musk's company to pay all proceedings. Under domestic law, social media companies must explain how they're meeting basic expectations for online safety. Just last month, Musk labelled the Australian government fascists over proposed new laws to curtail digital misinformation. X has been in the regulatory spotlight, with Brazil and Australia battling the social media giant over regulations. US dock workers agree to start moving cargo again while they continue collective bargaining with their employers on a new contract. The International Long Horsemen's Association said it had agreed to extend the contract until January 15th and work will resume. Container ports from Houston to Miami and up to Boston have been closed since the labor contract expired on Tuesday. This led to at least 45 container ships being stranded, unable to unload, causing significant delays in shipments of essential goods. Billions of dollars exited China's largest money market exchange traded funds just as billions more flowed into ETFs, tracking equities. This signals that Beijing has finally drawn skeptical investors back to the country's struggling stock market. Last week, China's 10 largest money market ETFs saw combined outflows of $4.1 billion. Meanwhile, the 10 biggest equity ETFs lured $6 billion in new capital. This shift followed fresh stimulus measures that spurred the best week for mainland stocks since 2008. Analysts, however, remain skeptical on this growth momentum, citing deeper economic challenges. The Indian rupee is likely to remain anchored near a lifetime low on Friday. The currency has been hit by concerns over the deluge of foreign money being pulled out of domestic equities and a jump in oil price due to West Asia tensions. Brent crude soared 5% on Thursday to extend its weekly advance on worries over supplies. President Joe Biden said on Thursday the US was discussing strikes on Iran's oil facilities in retaliation to Tehran's missile attack on Israel. Meanwhile, foreign investors took about $1.8 billion from Indian equities on Thursday. They have now withdrawn more than $3 billion over the last 3 sessions.